putting the spotlight on Seattle Seawolves scrum half Brock Gallagher. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. First of all, you're Canadian.
I am.
Canadians typically don't play rugby in my experience. Like having you come in here and we don't have like a South African or Australian accent. What made you choose rugby over hockey?
Well, funny enough, both my parents, like obviously my dad being a really crazy hockey fan and like grew up playing hockey, you know, the Canadian way, and you know, my mom not really into that, but both my parents actually grew up playing rugby as well. So it was kind of just like either one of those things. If hockey didn't end up being the, you know, the go-to, rugby was the fallback. Well, actually before that it was Irish dancing, hockey, then
no way.
Rugby. So got a big Irish culture in my family, so my dad's side. So kind of was what my grandfather wanted, my dad's dad. So, and then hockey, and then obviously rugby was like the end all be all, because just can't get away with both your parents, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, destined at that point.
Right, and without rugby, you wouldn't physically be here. Tell me about how your parents met.
Parents met, funny enough, my dad was actually my mom's coach in club, cool. And then obviously before we kind of became an official thing, he actually coached her in like the provincial level, Alberta, so the province that I'm from. And then once it kind of got into a little bit of a hectic point where like, oh, like, coach dating one of the players. My dad stepped away, but never really kind of separated them or stopped them from being who they are, and then ended up, you know, having the greatest mistake they ever had with me. And then my sister was more planned, but you know, so that ended up coming too. So God, it's crazy because, you know, rugby, not more than anything for them, is like a good example of where you meet new cultures, new people, new friends, and it kind of brings people together. But I have a huge thank to the sport because it brought my mom together and my dad together, and now, you know, I'm happy to hear. And then now I get to live in Seattle and live a good life.
Yeah, so cool. And what a thing to put on your resume, you know, greatest mistake the world has ever seen.
I know.
A lot of people can put their, you know, name on that. This is your first year with the Seawolves, like you mentioned. How are you liking Seattle? Because you were formerly with the Dallas Jackals.
Yeah.
How do you like the city, the weather?
Well, the city itself is beautiful. Like I used to live for 5 years coming out of high school. I used to live in Vic, so it's like kind of, I find it very similar in many ways. Beautiful, a lot of lights, very touristy. So it's a high attracted city, I find. And like growing up as a city boy, I like nice big cities. So and like, you know, obviously all like the ability to go to like all the fancy restaurants, all the shopping centers, kind of fits me quite well. But a big thing for me too, also being like from Canada and Alberta, is the nature. And like being able to hike and like kind of like ease my mind off away from rugby, and that's kind of the thing I found I couldn't get in Dallas. Obviously Texas as a whole being kind of like a flatter state, not a whole lot going on. So like being here, like being able to escape that part of my life a little bit when I have the time off to hike and enjoy the water and like kind of just be able to move around more is a huge like help, not only just for my like, you know, life, but also rugby career, because it's good to get that break and that time away. So overall, the change up and being able to come here and call it home has probably been the best thing, not just, like I said, in rugby, but in life itself.
So cool. Well, I think a lot of Seawolves fans are pumped that you're here and happy to get to know you a little bit more. Also played on the Canadian national men's team for rugby. We will get to know you more as time goes on. The Seattle Seawolves play this Saturday night at 7 p.m. at Starfire Stadium. They play the team they lost to in the MLR championship last year, so time to get some revenge against the Houston SaberCats. It is going to be a good one. Actually, the New England Free Jacks is actually who they lost to, but it'll be a good one. Thanks for hanging out with us, Brock.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. All right, well, the Seattle Kraken are making big moves before the NHL trade deadline. One player is sitting out tonight. Will fans have to say goodbye to another beloved player? Stay with us. Friday at noon Pacific time is the National Hockey League trade deadline. Today, forward Brandon Tanev was scratched from the Seattle Kraken lineup. It's a bubble wrap move we see all the time before a player is likely traded. Tanev is also an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. This comes after the Kraken traded Yanni Gourde and Oliver Bjorkstrand for future first-round draft picks yesterday. Time to thank both of these guys for being on the show tonight. It is always fun to have you both. Brock, best of luck in the match on Saturday. That is against the New England Free Jacks, the MLR defending champs. Almost beat them last year. I know you weren't on the team, but we'll be watching 7 p.m. Starfire, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cannot wait. Brian, you have something cool coming up. The Pro FTB Golf Tournament in 2 weeks. Tell us what that's about.
Yeah, the Pro Football Tournament. It's down in Frisco, Texas, and it's 54 NFL current and former guys. A lot of your beloved Seahawks. Some of my former teammates will be in there. Jermaine Kearse, Golden Tate, current Jason Myers will be in it. Stephen Hauschka's in it. I'm in it. A lot of guys. Jerome Bettis is in it. Just a really cool event. It's our closest way to be on the PGA Tour. You know, that's how we got to feel. We got to feel that competition again. So we're all excited to compete and get down there.
Love it. It's like the Ryder Cup for golf. Very cool for all sports. Yeah. All right. Well, we will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 with Ethan McReynolds and Sounders analyst Nico Moreno. Thanks again, and have a great night.